Hey friends, it's Editing Lauren here. I'm about to take you along on my Friday small business day, like a day in the life as a small business owner. And I'm going to encourage you to stay on this vlog until the very end because I'm going to be sharing key tips and considerations to keep in mind when you're thinking about applying to different art shows, craft fairs, and holiday markets. So stay tuned and enjoy a day in the life with, well, me and my small business. Here we go. Happy Sunday, Stitchers! It is Friday when I am filming this, so it is Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was fabulous, but today I'm taking you through a day in the life. I am not taking the day off. We are in full holiday mode, busy season, and I'm taking you along for the journey. Right now, we are headed to the quilting studio. We have 2 quilts to quilt. I don't know if we'll get through both today. The goal is to get through one. I have to finish a custom order, which includes a mama sweatshirt and a local town ornament hoop, so a New York State town ornament hoop. So I'm going to be finishing up both of those. I'm going to show you what they look like. They are super cute. And if we have time, there is a local holiday market that we were waitlisted for that I want to check out to see if, even if we had gotten in, if it would have been worth it, it would have been a new one for me. So we might go check that out too, just to see what it's all about. So come on along, we got a ton to do. Let's head on out to the quilting studio. We are in the quilting studio. Today I'm working on this adorable quilt. It is actually kind of like a play mat for a toddler so they can run their race cars all through the city. It's super, super cute. I'll let you kind of take a look at it here. We are going to do a simple pantograph on this just so that it doesn't raise too much. The kids can play on it nice and easily. So let's go ahead and tackle that. We're going to get started.
Hey darling, can I tell you what's been on my mind? Sick and tired of the 9 to 5 in the city life. Hey darling, we could get out of town, see the beautiful world around, wanna see it now. Pack our bags and get in that car, leave a little note and we'll drive real far. Let's get out, we can leave this city. Let's drive to the open air. Yeah, the countryside is so pretty, with the wind blowing in your hair. We can look back someday. Baby, don't you understand that we only get one life? I wanna make it count, honey. Come on now and take my hand. Hey darling, I love it when it's me and you on the road with a couple of tunes in a car for 2. Hey darling, you know we're gonna have a really good time, driving in the middle of the night when the stars are bright. Pack our bags and get in that car, leave a little note and we'll drive real far. Let's get out, we can leave this city. Let's drive to the open air. Yeah, the countryside is so pretty, with the wind blowing in your hair. We can look back someday. Baby, don't you understand that we only get one life? I wanna make it count, honey. Come on now and take my hand. Let's get out, we can leave this.
Quick update, I just finished this cute little play pad quilt. So that's all tackled and done. The quilting came out super cute. You can see the little swirly lines on there. It looks especially cute on the back where all of the turtles are. It kind of looks like they're swimming. So I don't know, I think it's gonna be cute. It's something that they can definitely play with like their little toy cars on. And so we're gonna get this all finished up and then sent out to them. And I was gonna take a lunch break, but I think I'm gonna get the second quilt mounted because that's kind of like the tedious part of getting the quilt set up. So I think I'm gonna get the second quilt mounted just so that we can get it kind of tackled and rocking and rolling so that we can keep moving through this day. Whew, I am tired, but we just finished quilt number 2. This one was pretty easy. It's a veterans quilt. That's why it's red, white, and blue. And we just did a simple meander on it. It's going to be donated to a local veterans organization. So that's kind of fun and nice. But now it's about 3 o'clock and I'm taking a late lunch break. I max out at 2 quilts a day. If they're small quilts, it's usually just 1 quilt a day for me. Yeah, I'm definitely tired. The next thing on our to-do list after lunch is we are going to take care of a custom order that includes adding dog to a mama sweatshirt. So it says dog mama. And then I need to do a custom New York State embroidery hoop ornament. So I will show you how that works too. And then hopefully, if we're not too tired, we're gonna go check out a local craft show so that we can kind of scope it out and see if it's something that we might want to do in the future. So let's take a break and then we will jump right back into work again.
Darling, I get you on my mind when Christmas comes to town. It's getting cold, baby. I just want you close. I got all this joy in my heart, and if it's getting dark, yeah, we can go inside, baby.
I am back. It is actually Saturday evening when I am recording this. We went to the big, huge craft market last night, and I want to recap it for you. Not only do I want to recap it, I've taken the day and I want to share some tips with you to consider when you're looking at whether or not you want to apply to different art fairs, art markets, big holiday shows. There are just a few key things that might help you decide whether or not a show is going to be a good fit for you and your business. Now, keep in mind, this is me and my opinion. A show that might not be a good fit for me might be a great fit for you, and shows that might not be a great fit for you might be a good fit for me and my business. So I'm going to give you some key considerations, things to keep in mind when you're thinking about whether or not a show will be worth signing up for, or whether you want to take a chance and sell at certain markets in the upcoming year. Let me just start by giving you a recap of what happened last night. It was so crowded, so busy, which is great. You love seeing a high attendance. There were some things that I'm not sure would be necessarily a good fit for me and my business, but I could definitely see it being a successful show depending on what type of business you have. So let me run down the scope of this event. It was at a huge local venue. They draw in thousands and thousands and thousands of people. They host big concerts and shows and all kinds of big things. And they were renting out their showroom for this huge show. And it was being organized by a third-party organizer. She does a lot of big shows in the area. So we sent in our application months ago. And we sent it in just after I got an email in my inbox that said, apply. We still have spaces to this huge holiday craft show. Apply now. I sent in my application. I sent in my application fee, which I think was $75. And immediately I got back, oh no, we don't have any more openings in your product category, which absolutely broke my heart, because if had I known that, seeing the email that they didn't have any more spaces in my product category in embroidery, fiber art, then I probably wouldn't have applied and I wouldn't have sent in my non-refundable $75 fee. In my experience, when you have a non-refundable application fee, it's usually for a juried show. Usually there is an end date. You have to have your application in by January 1st, and then a group of jurors is going to look at all of the applications and make their determination then. It's not rolling applications. So when I saw that there were still openings, I thought, great, okay, perfect. I'll send in my application fee and we should be good to go. If you're an event organizer, keep in mind that if you do have a non-refundable application fee, you might want to consider letting vendors know what categories you're looking for, because this really, it was a big hit for me. And it was a $75 application fee. It was a multi-$100 event fee. This is a huge event. Usually these big events have a bit more like organization for something like that. Usually they're juried. Usually there's an end date. Usually there's a little bit more communication. So that kind of struck me as odd, but I reached out to the coordinator. She put me on a wait list. So unfortunately, it didn't work out. They didn't have any openings in my space, but honestly, I think it worked out for the best. So that story aside, let's talk about some just general factors that you can use to consider whether or not a show will be a good fit for you and your business. The first thing that I think everyone thinks of with whether or not they want to apply to a show is the show fee. Now, show fees can range anywhere from totally free to a few dollars, maybe $10, $20, $35, on up over to multiple hundreds, $400, $500, $1,000+, right? There's a full range. And just because a show is really expensive doesn't mean it's going to be a good fit. And just because a show is inexpensive does not mean it's going to be a good fit. You've got to decide whether or not all of the factors that make up that show are going to be worth the entry fee. You have to decide whether not only you're going to make up that entry fee, but whether you can sell product beyond that entry fee to make the weekend or day worth your while. Something else to consider is that some shows actually have entry fees for attendees. Now, this can change the type of attendees that attend events. If there's an entry fee, sometimes it's going to pull in more serious shoppers because they had to pay to get in. They have a little bit of, leverage on the table where, oh, I paid to get in. They're going to be a little bit more serious about their shopping experience. On the other hand, if they've spent money to get in, that's pulled away a little bit of their budget for what they were planning to spend for the day, and they may not put that money back into what they're shopping in your booth. On the other hand, when you have a free show, you're going to get a lot more attendees, but they might not necessarily be serious shoppers. They may just be there to have a fun day out. So keep that in mind. That's one tiny little factor to also consider. One of the main factors that I use to test whether or not I want to be at a show is the attendance. How many people is this show expecting to see? Is it going to be 100 people? Is it going to be 100,000 people? Somewhere in the middle? How many people can we expect to see at this show? Because I know as a vendor, I'm going to estimate that somewhere between 0.5% to 2% of the people are probably going to shop with me in my booth, depending on how good of a fit the attendees are with my brand. How many of them are my ideal customer, right? And if I know that 1 to 2% are going to shop with me, and I know that there's 100,000 people coming, I can determine about how many transactions I am likely going to see if I'm on my game, if we've done a good job setting up and preparing the products that people want to see. Knowing that, I can take my average sales transaction, which I can see within my Square system, multiply that out and see whether I'm going to at least make back my booth fee and beyond. Will it be worth my weekend to prepare for this? Now, will I always see 1 to 2%? No, I won't. So you got to make sure that these are going to be your ideal customers and a good fit. I could have 2 markets that on paper look exactly the same, but one of them might have my ideal customers coming and the other one might not. This past fall, I had a show that was going to be a lot of fun. It was at a farm, but all of the attendees wanted to see camo and hunting goods and all of this fun stuff that they love, but my bright pink mama kid inspired friendly prints might not have been a good fit for them. Similar show, similar price point, but let's say it was like a sip and shop. Now those customers want to see my jewelry. They want to see my bright pink bags and all of my fun, cozy stuff. So you have to take into consideration who's going to be there and how many are going to be there. Those are 2 huge factors with whether or not the show could be a good fit for you and your business. The show that I went to last night had a ton of people. The lines were wrapped all around. It was taking place at a huge casino locally. The lines were wrapped around. They had to have extra attendants to make sure that there was clearance for all of the shops and the restaurants in the casino, that the place wasn't getting plugged up. But were they shopping? They were not shopping at the small vendor handmade people. They were shopping for food. They were shopping for pretzels, hot sauces, popcorn. They were shopping with all of the food vendors. There was a nothing bundt cakes, so there was franchises they were selling. I got a lemonade. I was getting thirsty by the end. They were buying food. They were not shopping with the handmade items. So you if you're going to kind of scope out an event ahead of time to see if it's a good fit, take note of what people are actually shopping for. The room might be full, but are they shopping? And are they shopping for a product that is a good fit for you? Or do you think that you can offer them something that they will love and connect with, value, and enjoy? Just going to throw that way out there. The traffic flow was tough at this particular event. There wasn't a ton of space. Each booth had a nice 10 by 10 size. Some of them had 10 by 20s or 10 by 30s if they bought multiple booth spaces, but the aisles were crowded. They were shoulder to shoulder, and I could hardly get through, to the point where like I was skipping whole aisles just to get away from crowds. When I was down an aisle, just to try to get around traffic or baby carriages, I would have to go past multiple booths, and I could not see into them. I could not get into them. That's how crowded it was. Now, there was a less crowded area out in the hallway, but I'm not sure how many people found those extra vendors. So kind of a catch-22. There was more space in the hallway, but the main crowd, I'm not sure they were really being led out there the way that I would want to be if I was a hallway vendor. So keep in mind that personally, as someone that was attending the event, I was deterred by all the traffic. I could not get through. All I wanted was more space so I could stop and browse and really look at people's work and enjoy it. And it was just way too crowded. Keep in mind the types of vendors that are going to be at the show with you. I love events where they are primarily handmade. If a vendor has a few manufactured items, I totally get it. I know I have a few manufactured items. They're items that are I have my illustrations, my artwork. I'll have them printed onto maybe a few stickers, bookmarks. I have a couple larger tote bags that have all of my artwork printed onto the fabric. I understand a few manufactured items, but the majority of my work, all my earrings, even these earrings, they're little embroidered pumpkin earrings. I sell embroidered earrings. They're hand embroidered. I sell embroidered ornaments. I sell bags that I make. I'm actually at my sewing machine sewing them out. I like having events where the other vendors are also handmade. It is really hard for me and my small business to compete with resale vendors and MLMs. Now, I love a good MLM. I have my Color Street nails on. My girl Kelly keeps me going and beautiful. I love them. And this event had a lot of MLMs and multi-level marketing, if you're not familiar with MLM. And it had a lot of resale vendors. I saw quilts being sold for prices that I can't compete with for the amount of time that it would take me to quilt something. And I asked if they quilted it themselves, and they said, no, we just put a little embroidery on it and we just resell it. So it was resell. I can't compete with that pricing. I can't compete with the prices that they were putting on things. And that's okay. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You have to do what's right for your business. There's nothing wrong with a resale business. That's totally okay. It just might not be a good fit for me. I'm looking for my customers appreciate the handmade nature of my products, how long it took, the art and the time and the experience behind it, the handmade quality behind my work. And a few of the vendors I was chatting with, I was like, girl, you could raise your prices. There were a few handmade vendors there. I said, this is beautiful. I know, they were knitting vendors. A couple people were making handmade bags. I said, I know how much time you put into this. You could raise your price. You know what I mean? Because I know how much time it takes. There's no way that they were making money off of their pricing. And they said, yeah, but just then we won't sell anything. Y'all, I can't even tell you how much that breaks my heart, because I get it. The economy is hard right now, but your people are out there. There are people out there that love and value handmade product. And if this particular event, it's hard to sell your product for the price that you deserve as a handmade artist, then maybe it's not a great fit for you. Or maybe, personally, it might not be a great fit for me and my handmade stuff. Maybe if I had a few more manufactured items, then maybe it would be a good fit. There is no right or wrong. Reselling, no right or wrong. Handmade, no right or wrong. Just knowing whether or not an event is a good fit. So it's just something to keep in mind. Are these shoppers there looking for a deal? A quick, easy little something? Or are they there for quality, for art, for your handmade goods? And can you sell at the price that you deserve as an artist, as a handmade baker? Food for thought. Or if you are an MLM, then it might be a great show for you. Or if you are a reseller, it might be a good show for you. Maybe I need to manufacture a few more of my products, take my patterns and designs that I use for fabric and wallpaper, get them printed onto product, and then maybe those products would sell well, and it's still worth my while to attend a show like that. Food for thought for me in the future, but for right now, where I'm at, I'm not sure it's the best fit. Few more factors to keep in mind. And I know I'm running long, but I just think that this information, I've compiled it for you, is just beneficial for us to chat about. And let me know in the comments below, are these factors that you consider? Are there other factors that you consider? I'm going to keep going on my list here. I've got a huge long list of things that I just was thinking about and I thought that we should chat about. So this is more of an organization standpoint. Is the coordinator marketing for the event? When you have cross promotion, other businesses are marketing, you're marketing, the coordinator's marketing, it's going to draw up more business. You're going to see the types of people that are interested in your event and whether or not, hopefully you'll get more traffic and the right buyers to come to your booth so that you can connect with them, find them the right product, and really make those connections with your audience. And I think that it's important. It adds more value when the organizer is going to market. This market was definitely marketed. They had radio ads, they had local ads, Facebook ads. I saw them all week, if not a couple weeks ahead. So marketing was definitely there. I think the other thing to think about in terms of event organization is event security. And indoor events in like complexes like this have high security. There were, roped off areas. They had a lot of staff. At night, they can lock up the main ballroom. So security is definitely a consideration. Now, are things probably going to get stolen from your booth? There's always a chance. There's always a risk. You can't prevent everything, but just knowing that it's indoors is definitely helpful and that they have a staff on property, also helpful, and that they can lock the main showroom. Definitely a pro in my world. In general, and I don't know how much we talked about this, but I think having a good coordination and communication with the event organizer and vendor is really important between organizer and vendor. So, will they respond to your emails? If you have a question, how easy it is to get through? How's the application process? Is it smooth? How about setup and, coordinating your booth space? Ultimately, you kind of want a seamless experience from top to bottom. It is very challenging. So if you are an attendee, I have organized large-ish events, not necessarily with this many vendors, but with a few hundred people, small conferences. And it is a lot. It is a lot to put on. So be patient with all of your organizers and vendors, okay? Be patient because it's a lot to orchestrate. We as vendors are tough. We can be challenging. We've got our business hats on. So just be patient. Anytime you're working in a group like this, be patient, but definitely keep an eye on what's reasonable and what's not. Now, I think having a good relationship with these organizers is definitely worthwhile. But, different organization styles, different styles might be a better fit for you. I don't know. I think it's just part of the experience. You got to see who's easy to work with, who you enjoy working with, and whether it feels right for you and your business. Another factor that I heard that was interesting, the event setup for this was very exciting this year. They're actually having construction at the casino where this was being set up. So this year, all of the vendors, I heard this through one of the vendors I was chit-chatting with, they had to label all of their furniture that they were bringing in, all of their product bins, every single piece, unload it, and then the staff brought it in. Now, I could only imagine what if something got damaged, broken, lost, stolen. As a control person, that would make me really, really, really nervous. I think it would require a lot of organization on the organizer's front. More power to them that they were able to pull that off. But because you couldn't pull right up to the loading dock this year, it required extra hands on your product, on your furniture, on everything. It would stress me out personally. So I'm glad that this year didn't work out because I would be a nervous wreck. But I know in years past, they haven't had that. So maybe it's just a this year kind of situation. In general, parking and logistics can make a big impact for your event. How close can you get to unload? Do you need to bring multiple wagons or carts to load everything in? How is the terrain? Is it easy to maneuver? Is it grassy? Is it uneven? Are you outside? Are you inside? Are there elevators? Let me tell you, one of the most stressful parts of these events is definitely setup. Even tear down a little bit, but mostly setup, because you're rushing usually, you want it to look perfect. Even if you have time and you're not rushing to get done, you're kind of in go mode. You're like, oh, okay, we have to get this done. I have to get everything from the car into the booth. I don't want anything stolen or taken. I don't know where I'm going. It can be a stressful situation. So understanding those logistics ahead of time definitely can make an impact on whether or not an event may be a good fit or not. Another benefit of visiting a show ahead of time, if you're thinking about visiting a show ahead of time, is you can get ideas for booth setups. Not only can you check out the crowd and the types of products that are selling, but you can get ideas for how your booth will work in the space. You can get an idea of the amount of space that you're going to have. Will it have electricity? How will your furniture and your setup work in the space that they are providing? Are there any pillars or deterrents or something that might be in your way that could hinder your setup process? How easy is it to set up? Is it going to be hilly terrain? I know you mentioned this, elevators, things in your way, construction in order to slow you down. So in general, I highly recommend checking out an event ahead of time and whether all of these factors work together to make it worth my while to sign up. And I know this wasn't a definitive answer because the truth is when you're signing up for these events, there are a lot of factors at play, but definitely take into consideration all of them. And what's good for me and my business may not be what's good for you and your business. So let me know in the comments below what other factors you take into consideration when you're looking at markets and when you're setting up, because there are definitely a lot of factors at play, and sometimes you just have to try out an event and see if it's right for you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so glad you were here. Thank you for hanging out with me during this small business vlog. If you enjoyed it, please hit that subscribe button. I'd love to have you along for the ride. It was great chatting with you, friends. Until next time, happy stitching.